There's no known force that would do it. And if you start thinking about it, you realize how dumb this theory actually is. Sure, you can see lots of glacial damage on North America and Europe. Huge, what do you call that? Gouges, huge gouges in the land called striations. However, there are no striations in Siberia or northern China. Why is this when those areas of the northern hemisphere lie at the same level as North America and Europe? Surely, if these glaciers were over parts of the western hemisphere, why wouldn't they be over parts of the eastern hemisphere? The same pattern is repeated in the southern hemisphere. In South America, lots of evidence of glacial damage, the striations. However, Africa, no, not so much. Antarctica, none whatsoever. So, yes, there is evidence, these glacial damages, but the evidence is not that of ice ages. The whole ice age theory, it's just been completely misread. Remember the erratic boulders I talked about? Sometimes these erratic boulders have actually traveled uphill. The way glaciers work, huge ice sheets form on mountains, and as the ice packs and the friction from the ice melts the ice on the bottom, these glaciers move downhill on the mountain ranges. Well, there's no way these erratic boulders could have traveled up the mountainside. It defies the laws of physics. And if a theory has any type of validity, it has to withstand the laws of physics. Plus, there are striations in Sweden, in Finland, and in southern Russia. Yet, there are no mountain ranges for these glaciers to move downwards. So, obviously, these striations, which theorists claim to be the cause or evidence of glaciers moving across the continents, clearly that's invalid as well. And that's one of the main tenets of the Ice Age myth. Obviously, conclusions on striations are wrong. These striations, folks, are actually more evidence of a great flood and of erosion as huge chunks of rocks and other pieces of earth were scraped across the surface of the earth as the great flood moved. If you still believe that the coastal ruins which lie underwater were flooded by the melting ice ages, then please email me. Put up my email. Put up my email address on there. Please email me and explain to me, folks, how these underwater ruins show evidence of flash flooding instead of a slow melting process. There was pots with food found in them. I mean, if you see, the glaciers are melting, the sea level's rising, let's take everything of value we have and move upland. No, that's not how these ruins are. Think about the water it takes to raise the sea level up to 100 feet. There's my email address. Please explain these things to me, because you might not get a chance to call in. I really need to know. My brain is... The amount of water it would take in order to raise the sea levels, in some instances up to 100 feet. You're talking about 100 feet times 200 million square miles of water. Think about that for a second. The volume of water that is. 100 feet times 200 million square miles. While you're thinking about that, and explain it to me, how it happens, how it works. Also explain to me what heat would it take to evaporate 100 feet of water from all the Earth's surface and at the same time freeze that water into ice. Help me out here, because I'm completely confused if the Earth is solid. Oh, wait a second. I'm not confused because I don't think the Earth is solid. I think the Earth is hollow, and I think there are good common sense explanations for all of these things that I talked about. It's called the hollow Earth, and it's called rethinking our whole belief system of gravity. And that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Folks, the Ice Age simply makes no sense. But the expanding Earth and the hollow Earth totally does. And I know in 3 hours of me just talking about little bits and pieces, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, it doesn't make sense to me. That's why this is not a 1-hour show, and I'm not just talking about the fantastic, the wonderful things, the glitzy stuff in order to catch your eye and make you think, oh, that was a really interesting show. No, this is going to be a great painting once you get to the end of it and once you understand how these things work. Because like I said, it's too much to just be contained within one show. As the Earth expanded, expanding Earth. Now we can go back to that clip now. Thank you. I appreciate you. All of you, actually. Corey, Chris, and Donna. And sometimes Shag. So I appreciate you all. As the Earth expanded, its broken continental crust drifted apart. Expanding. Not drifted across the big planet, but drifted and moved. As you can see, when the Earth was smaller, there was no ice at the poles because it was so compact. The poles were closer to the equator, and all of the planet was much warmer. Yet as the planet expanded, as the poles got further and further away from the equator, they started to develop ice because it was colder. In the warmer climates, as these continents moved over the pole areas, then the glaciers developed, and this process took millions and millions of years. As these continents moved away from the poles, the glaciers melted, leaving the evidence we see today and think, oh, that must have been ice ages. No, it wasn't ice ages. It was expanding planet. The Great Flood, which I spent a whole hour on because it's vital, it's imperative that you understand this, because if you don't, you'll never understand and really get how the Earth is hollow. The Great Flood that happened later, after the expansion of the Earth, about 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, its erosive action scarred and polished the Earth, scattering boulders across the land and changing the sea level forever. Because once the flood happened, once the pressure equilibrated from the inside of the Earth to the outside of the Earth, it caused our sea levels, our ocean levels, to rise dramatically. That was the difference, the equilibration of pressure from the inside to the outside. Before the Great Flood, when all the pressure was built up in the inside of the Earth, then, the sea levels were lower. After that equalization of pressure, more of the great oceans from the inside of the Earth stayed on the surface of the planet. It didn't all recede back down. That's where this 100 feet times 200 million square miles of water came from.